of residential and commercial zero-turn lawnmowers in the industry with over 1,000 dealers. Visit hustlerturf.com, hustlerturf.com. I didn't know zero-turn lawnmowers were a thing. Apparently, it's very important. I don't like mine turning either, for the record. All right, so let me get to this. I think John Gruden, when I used to work at the other place, was the single most talented former player or former coach on the air. I thought he was a great broadcaster. A lot of the media critics, and what do they know? They've never worked in TV. John Gruden's great on television. He's a home run. The NFL draft coverage for ESPN has never been as good since Gruden left. That's not a shot at the people on it. They're very capable. Monday Night Football has never been as good since Gruden left. His quarterback camp was much watched. Gruden is a TV star. He's great. Tomorrow, if Fox came to me tomorrow and one of our big stars retired and they said, who would you do? I'd be like, Gruden. Gruden's great on television. And the media critics are idiots if they don't get it. He is juice. He is energy. He's Chucky. He's goofy. He's opinions. He's great on television. But I've always said the coaching thing, he's likable. Like Pete Carroll. When we like somebody, we defend him. He's won 51% of his games. Mike McCarthy's won 60%. He has 5 playoff wins. McCarthy's got double that. But we don't like Mike McCarthy. He looks like a cab driver from Chicago. He's a regular guy. He's not very funny behind a mic. He's kind of uncomfortable, and Gruden's unbelievably comfortable. So Gruden always gets a pass with the Raiders. I saw this story. Derek Carr, you want to know who inquired about him? Who's the best young GM in the NFL? A lot of people think it's Chris Ballard of the Colts. Story out today, Ballard wanted Derek Carr. And the Raiders said, no, not Derek Carr. And this cracks me up. Derek Carr always gets blamed for everything with the Raiders. So Chicago and the Raiders both went 8-8. But Chicago's quarterbacks kept them at 8-8. Derek Carr got the Raiders to 8-8. Is anybody paying attention to Derek Carr the last 2 years? He's completed 70% of his throws. He's got 48 touchdowns, 17 picks, and a passer rating over 100. He's the glue to the organization. What do you mean trade him? First of all, John Gruden's reputation as a coach is winner. His reality is his last 9 years coaching, he's got no playoff wins. He's the only coach in the NFL that's had 3 straight losing years, missed the playoffs 3 straight years, still has a job. He's the only one in the league. That's it. 3 years, no playoffs, still employed. He's the only one. And I like him. And I find him unbelievably likable. He walks into a room and he steals it. He sucks all the oxygen out of it. I was in a room in New York years ago. He just is Chucky. He's big and he's verbal and he's funny and he's interesting and he's passionate. And he was always underrated as a television personality. He's great. Listen, I like Bill Parcells. There are a lot of guys. Joe Montana. There are a lot of guys that are great. They're not great on television. Gruden is great on TV. But this idea that Carr's getting in the way of Oakland. There's a million questions in Oakland. They have one player on the entire roster that had more than 3 sacks last year, Max Crosby, Vegas Raiders. They have one guy in the whole roster with more than 3 sacks. Their last 2 top picks have been busts. Henry Ruggs, wide receiver, is a bust. He was their 4th leading receiver. He was 21st in receptions among rookie receivers. He's fast and can't run routes. Okay, Cleveland Farrell, the Clemson kid, and I said it the day they drafted him, was a reach. He's got almost no sacks in 2 years. So I got questions about the GM. I got questions about the defense. I got questions about the roster. I got questions about Gruden. Derek Carr's the only thing I don't have questions about with the Raiders. So the fact that Chris Ballard came out and was like, I like that guy. He should. By the way, Pro Football Focus, Derek Carr, 10th highest graded quarterback. And that's, again, a guy that has to be in shootouts every week to win. The other thing about the Raiders, the last 2 years with Gruden, they've regressed badly after Thanksgiving. So I don't know what that's about. I'm not in the rooms. But post-Thanksgiving, the last 2 years, the Raiders have been a mess. Does Gruden coach them too hard at practice? Do they work them too hard? Are they too intense early and they just melt at the end of the year? I don't know. I don't have the answer. But it's not a good trend. The best coaches in this league, the Belichick's teams get better after Thanksgiving. Gruden's Raiders last 2 years, post-Thanksgiving, die, except Derek Carr. So I love this story. Finally, one of the sharp GMs is like, yeah, we like Derek Carr. He is the life preserver. There's a million questions with the Raiders. Carr's the only thing I don't question. Alex Curry with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
So Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston, but the team is still standing firm in wanting to keep him. Now, Carson Wentz just got his wish of starting fresh with a new team. And after the trade news, Deshaun's personal coach, Quincy Avery, tweeted, "What's the criteria for a quarterback asking to get traded, then actually getting traded? Asking for a friend." Now, Colin, you had him on the show on Wednesday. He made some great points. He said Deshaun's always doing the right thing. He's never complained. All he wants to do is be a leadership in a winning culture.
Yeah.
And it's just gotten to the point where the relationship has just gone so south. I don't think there's any fixing it.
And I don't think it's a total loss for Houston. He's off his best year. He's healthy now. You can get probably 4 first-round picks, a bridge quarterback, and another player. You can really set yourself up. What does Houston need? Draft picks. Yeah. You can get 4 first-rounders and a couple second-rounders for him. And as great as he is, he's had a couple injuries. He's been hit a lot. Unlike Russell Wilson, he does get hit. So this is not if we don't trade him, we're doomed. Houston can get a bridge quarterback like a Teddy Bridgewater and Carolina's pick to get their next quarterback. All is not lost moving him. And to me, if your quarterback's disgruntled, it doesn't ruin the franchise. When your quarterback's disgruntled, it seeps into every room. It's time to move him. He doesn't want to be in your city or with your team.
And if they play it right, everybody wins in this situation.
Yeah.
You just got to play it right. Moving on, Tom Brady was as motivated as ever to find success during his first season in Tampa. He accomplished his goal, winning an unprecedented 7th Super Bowl. And Mike Evans said Brady's extra attention to detail leading up to the game helped the team prepare. Take a listen.
He was texting us a lot of clips, lots and lots of film, and what to expect on certain down and distances. And he does that all the time, but just in the playoffs, and especially this game, he went above and beyond. Like 12 at night, 6 in the morning, 5, people ain't even up. He's telling us, hey, this won't work versus this guy. You got to do it running like this. And the detail that went into this, and the extra meetings and all the hard work, it all paid off. And Tom was a great leader.
And you know what this reminds me of? This is the opposite of Big Ben.
Yeah.
Who doesn't do film study to a high level, who's not a great practice player, who's not committed in the offseason. If you look at Brady and Big Ben's talent, Big Ben's more talented, has been for years, but he's not as committed. That was always the knock on Flacco. Flacco was gifted, but he wasn't totally committed in the offseason or in season. Brady's greatness is so much about being all in the moment. It's not about the great arm. It's not about his mobility. Is the reason he is aging well is the exact reason Big Ben and Flacco age poorly. The amount you give in life to something is the amount you will get back. Tom has given his life to his family and football, and it's paying him back at the end of his career. And that's Russell Wilson similarly. Russell spends $1.5 million on his body. LeBron James spends $2 million a year on his body. It's not a coincidence. Brady, LeBron, Russell age more gracefully. You're going to get back what you put in with your body and your profession.
Well, hearing that he texts his teammates at all hours of the night, I think just adds to the legend that is Tom Brady. And when Bruce Arians was on the show yesterday, he said he stepped into that bigger leadership role. He let him coach. And so maybe his way of leading was texting guys at all hours of the night. And if I remember correctly, he had his family leave 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. So if you think about it, he was just by himself in his house, too. So he was probably watching tape, thinking about the Super Bowl nonstop. And that's something he had to do when there was only 5 other players on the Bucs besides Brady who have won a Super Bowl before.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal.
I love when athletes give to their profession.
Yeah.
All in on it. By the way, you got on average, you got 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Just commit to a decade to something. That doesn't mean you have to spend less time with your family. Just go. I don't understand having the natural gifts. Like I asked Tony Gonzalez this one time. I said, what percentage of football players did you play with that are all in? I mean, like the way they eat, the way they sleep. He goes, 3%.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine being physically good enough to be a pro athlete?
Yeah.
And then half-assing it. Be like, what?
Why?
What are you doing? And by the way, there's also, unlike a lot of professions, where you can work your butt off and there's no fiduciary reward, you'll get a reward for it. You'll get millions more if you work hard. It just seems to me so few Americans, less than half of 1%, are physically capable of being a professional athlete. Once God or whatever it is give you that gift, just go all in on the way you eat, the way you live, the way you sleep, the way you prepare, the way you commit.
Yeah, there's no secret. There's no secret recipe. Put in the work. Take care of your body.
It'll give you back.
And give it 110%. You're going to do great. We're seeing that with the top at the top.
Yeah.
All right. Well, despite no Kevin Durant, the Nets are playing incredibly well. Last night, they got a 109-98 win over LeBron and the Lakers, who were also missing key players Anthony Davis and Dennis Schroeder. James Harden led the Nets with 23 points and 11 assists. Joe Harris added 21 points with 6 3-pointers in the win, and Kyrie had 16.7 rebounds as the Nets extend their win streak to 5 games, which is their longest win streak since 2019. Now, we knew that all these players were going to be great individually on the Nets, but I think